Sawtooth Day, what's up, y'all? Hope you guys had a good week. Mine was kind of a roller coaster of a week. Thank you for all you guys for wishing my wife and I a happy anniversary. Appreciate that. Mostly on Instagram it happened. Unfortunately, the day after our anniversary, my father-in-law passed. So, you know, ups and downs, that sort of thing. So my wife's kind of been down in the dirt, obviously, from what had happened and stuff. So it's just been personally like an up and down week. But for me personally, like, you know, there's been some cool stuff happen too. So like I worked out a deal with Chris, get some trades, and I've been wanting some Knife-tastic Rodney's work anyhow, and it kind of worked out. So I'm gonna show you a quick video, or maybe I'll overlay a quick video of what the knife looked like before I got a hold of it, or before I started modifying anyhow. But I'd had a couple of Max Aces before. I gave some away at that 1K giveaway, and you know, I didn't really connect with that Sandstorm V2. The blade looked cooler, but it didn't feel the same. It wasn't the same as the original one. I had originally done one for Brandon Thrasher, who now is, that same knife is now owned by Bearded Doom, which I had done quite a few modifications for that, for Brandon. But this opportunity came up, so we worked out a trade. Sandstorm V1, and as you've seen from the video, it's no longer blue, it's now blasted, which is way more my style, more subdued. But I'm super glad to have some of Rodney's work. For you guys who don't know what it takes to do something like this, when you're milling a knife similar to this, like or a scale or anything like that, you got to hold it in a position where you can find like linear distance and that sort of thing in both directions, and then you have to be able to turn this knife to pull this radius to maintain it, and then pull it again and maintain it again. So work holding for something like this, I can't even imagine how Rodney even approached this. Like, I would have to really sit in and think about how I would even try to attempt to do it. Maybe off the pivot hole. I don't know what he used for a reference point, you know. But you know, Rodney, it's funny in talking with Rodney, he was like, don't be too crucial or critical of my work. But I was like, I know I couldn't do anything better than this. And according to Rodney, he's learned a lot on this one and has progressed since then. But it's funny because, like, I think Rodney and I are kind of the same in that we're very self-critical. As a machinist, you almost have to be. Like, it's just how you do it better. You try to get better for the next time and the next time. It's like if you're a welder, like every weld you try to get better on or try to learn something from and progress until you get to a point where you're like pretty efficient at just about everything, or proficient, I guess, at just about everything you do. But doing something like these mods on this knife, like that's you know, a lot of mental preparation for it, not just the execution of it. So like, I'm super happy with all the work Rodney's got. I know I couldn't do any better than that right now. If I go out there and tried my best, I know I couldn't do this good. So bad props to Rodney, and of course Carco Chris. Thanks, bro. I haven't made the lock bar stabilizer for this one. It doesn't need it anyhow, but like the factory one is that roto lock thing, and it's like right in the way of the pocket clip, which actually makes no sense at all. So whether I do or don't make another one, I probably will eventually make one, but it's not a priority for me because it really doesn't need it. But this V1 is way more hitchy. But for whatever reason, like, it's so much more satisfying for me personally than the V2 was. And the grind on this first one, they really got right, man. Like, it's flat ground, but it's not too like paper thin. Like, it's not trying to be a slicer like the V2 was. The V2 was just too thin for me, for a bruiser, for my taste. Like, if you're a person that's just gonna take this knife and do a lot of slicing and stuff with it, then it's fine. But like, for bruiser, for me personally, this is kind of like all the Max Aces, kind of a smaller handle but big knife blade. So this is kind of like a small-handed bruiser. Like, if you have small hands, this would be a good bruiser for you, type of thing. I have larger hands, and it's not uncomfortable, but it's a little bit smaller in the hand. But it's still, this one flicks way easier for me. Everything about this one is clankier, a little jankier, and I like it better. You know, sometimes like the smooth and refined doesn't work as good as old, faithful, and what I like. So super glad to have a V1 back in the collection. This one's definitely not going anywhere. Rodney's worked on it too. Now that I put my little flair on it too, so it's pretty much exactly how I wanted it. And so last week, I think I briefly mentioned that I was working a trade for another Recluse. So the Recluse I have is this one, and yes, I have modified this. Surprise, surprise, right? Everybody knows I pretty much modify everything I get, just about it, seemingly anyhow. But the backspacer on this one was a little bit pokey. This one has this other one I'm about to show you has the same. It's kind of like pokier, but this is very much reminiscent of the GF1, which I didn't bring out with me because I'm a dumbass in a rush. But I thought that Denise had traded hers and that Chris got it somehow, but then she showed me a picture of it and she had hers still. So awesome, glad. But now I have a Recluse medium, so you can see, hopefully in this picture or video, whatever you call it, that it's basically the same knife, just shrunk down. Like obviously the blade's not as long and the handle's not as long. So the only hiccup with this is like kind of a really cool smaller knife. Hiccup for me is like hand position. So let me get back to the bigger one for a second. For the little nubbin, you see the nubbin hanging here? You know, instead of having a flipper tab or just being straight right there, it's kind of sort of to keep your hand from moving up on the blade. If you need to choke up, you can go to that second knuckle and then roll that finger in there. And this one kind of works all right. It's a little tight on the finger choil for me, like size diameter there. So I probably will eventually do something different with it. But the back grip is enough grip and the forward grip's enough grip that I can make it work, right? On this smaller one, for me personally, the nub kind of gets in the way. I can get on the back, but like you see, my hands aren't really like and holding it. It's kind of like, I mean, I fit on the whole thing, don't get me wrong, but my hands don't fit in a comfortable position in there. When I choke up, this is too small for me, so my finger's hitting the blade up here, and then like the nubbin's kind of sort of, it's in between the nubbin and the point, so I really can't get my finger in there. And then the way the finger all rolls in there, it don't work for me personally. This grind is actually thicker than this one is. So this bigger one is ground thinner than this little one. So it's kind of a weird, like, it's a bruiser for a small-handed person. I think it's really, medium size, but like, if you have smaller hands than I do, this would probably work good for you. But for me personally, it's just a little bit on the small side. If I keep it, I'm gonna have to chop that nub off in order to, do something with it. So I may end up moving this one. Speaking of which, and Denise already hit me up about it. I'll probably go through my collection. I haven't done it yet. I'll probably go through the collection, figure out what I can part with, and try to move it. I'll probably be next week because it, basically going to leave a week or two. Ship and make sure everybody gets their stuff before the Blade Show to try to recoup some funds so I can have fun at Blade Show. Otherwise, I'm probably not gonna have no money, or very little anyhow. So that's coming next. Speaking of Denise, she donated 2 of these USA made Gerber multi-tools, and we're gonna do a giveaway with that soon. I'm not ready, I ain't get mentally prepared for that. And Allison had given me this Corvid XL. I think I showed it on one video a while back. To do a giveaway, so I'm gonna do some kind of giveaway pretty soon. I just gotta get my shit together and figure it out. I might do it where, like, the week before Blade, or maybe Blade Show itself, we'll get somebody, maybe if I meet Denise there, get somebody else in the community to pick winners or something like that. I don't know, I'll figure it out. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's two. All right, let's do this. So Mark, which I've done work for in the past, I think I've done some regrinds for him. I think that last one that I did was it an 8010? I think it was 8010, that black 8010 a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I don't remember. It all kind of blends into me. I love working on those cold steels like that. I got another one in for a regrind that I haven't done yet, but I'll get to it. But anyway, let me borrow a knife that I saw it on USA Made Blade, and I was like, I know it's not really my kind of knife, but it looks cool, and maybe I'll just buy it to support a USA maker. And it's this Dead Reckoning. This is not the blade shape I would have gotten, but hey, Mark had it, he posted it up, and I was like, dude, I'd love to take a look at that. And he's like, sure, man, I'll send it your way, which is, I love that about this community. Everybody's so generous. And honestly, man, I'm glad he did, because it saved me a ton of money. Not that I wouldn't have traded it for something else anyhow, but I really just wanted to check this knife out. Like, it looks cool as hell. I've seen it on Nick Edwards Behind the Edge. I've seen it on his channel too. Actually, the one he's got is really cool. It's 3V and titanium. I believe this is just titanium, and I believe that's what's the other steel they do? Is it magnet cut? I can't remember for sure, but I'm not 100% sure what the steel is on this one. I believe it's magnet cut. Don't quote me on it though. But an interesting knife, interesting lock mechanism and feel. I'm not a button lock guy. Every time I pick up a button lock, I automatically try to look for that frame to try to disengage. Like I'm always looking for it. The detent feels better than some, not as good as others as far as detent goes. I've heard they've made improvements and done different things on it. Just kind of going off of what I've seen in videos and going from my memory, which my memory sucks, so don't quote me on that. But if you're a small knife guy, which I'm gonna show you size wise, like this would be a great comparison, I guess, because probably more of you guys are into this size knife than mine. But you know, this is a bruiser channel, so we're going into bruisers. And I'm holding it in front of my face, so you can't probably see it that good, but it's about the same length as that medium Recluse as far as length goes. Obviously this is taller, but way chunkier. You can see that the blade stock and the titanium on their Recluse M is like, it's bruiser style versus this little slim EDC style. So this is way probably more of a common man knife than what I would carry personally, but this is a good little knife for me. Once again, I don't know. I don't know why I'm sometimes drawn to one, and it wasn't this blade shape that I was more drawn to. It was the more of the, what do they call it? Sheep's foot, I guess, style blade. The other one was. You know, for whatever reason, it just, I like the design, man. It's kind of like that Kymano from Sharif Manganis. Like, it's something about that design that just attracted me to it. Like, that, you know, sometimes it's not necessarily how it's finished, because like the Kymano in general, I got the purple carbon fiber. Like, I couldn't care less about purple personally. Like, I would much rather that thing been full tie. But the overall design of it, the flow of it, how all the lines work on it, it just works for me in my eyes. And that's kind of the way this knife is. I think they have alternative milling patterns on the handle. I like the plain ones, of course. I'm more of a plain Jane kind of guy. But integral, which I thought was really cool, kind of sort of has that palm swell, which is kind of sort of reminiscent of that Max Ace. You see how it's like kind of swells in the middle there? Same kind of thing there. At least that, you know, has that sort of feel to it. But damn, really nice knife for an average person, I would say. Just not my, sorry about the flies, AC running, everything else. It's hot in here. Arizona's weird because like we don't get mosquitoes, or very little mosquitoes, but we get these flies, man, like twice a year. You know, usually in the springtime and the fall time, these flies are crazy. Anyhow, cool knife to check out. If you guys are into USA made button locks, then check this one out. I want to say they're in the 400 range, somewhere in there. I don't really know 100%. I think aluminum and titanium is a little different price. Maybe the steel is different price. I don't know. But the ground kind of thick too. That's what I was gonna say. They're not ground like a super thin knife, which is kind of the way they're ground kind of reminds me of like ZTs. So personally, I like the way they're ground. You could take something like that, because this is definitely a milled blade. It's not a ground blade. I'm probably not holding it close enough, and they also stoned it afterwards where you can't really see the milling lines unless you just hit it in the right light, but there are milling lines in there if you know what you're looking for. You could probably regrind this one and probably make a good slicer out of it if you wanted to, but right now it's probably a pretty good, you know, heavier use style grind right now, medium grind, if you will, which is probably, you know, for me personally, like the real thin stuff really doesn't work for me all that often because I tend to chip blades. I'm just harder on blades. I'm just in general, like a bull in a china shop, if you will. Like if it ain't built strong, it ain't gonna last for me because I'm just an idiot with stuff. All right, do I got last? Oh yes. We'll get into this now. I'm not trying to do shop stuff that much. Like I said last video, I thought where it kind of got old, where I was like constantly showing work. I just get tired of seeing my own stuff, I guess. But I kind of sort of alluded to what I was going to do with this project. And it was kind of funny too, because I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who it was. I think it was maybe somebody I did a regrind for, but they were like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. You just did the scale. So, you know, I'm going to try to overlay some images that I took of the scale as I was working on it. But what I'm talking about is this, it was this black G10 with all the holes in it. Once again, I'm going to express that I have hatred for holes and slots. Not my thing on scales, and I'm really not a G10 guy. So while the G10 looked cool because it was black, that's probably the only reason that I liked it on there. Yeah, I modified the hell out of my kickstand. So all right, let's show you just the scale first. So you've seen the scale in that video, and I'm showing you progress pictures of it. Hopefully behind the scenes overlaid on what I'm talking about right now. And then I kind of sort of put the knife together, which I think I have a picture of it. I'm gonna try to put in there too, of how it looked with the blade untouched, and it just didn't work for me. So I did make the scale, so it's full tie now. Of course, I blasted everything again so it all matches. But what I was gonna say is that whoever I was talking to was like, "A good thing you just did this scale," and I was like, "Man, this dude don't know me at all," because I'm all into modifying everything. I had some issues with this, me personally, with this scale, and I'll kind of go through it briefly. Sometimes you just lose your train of thought as you're working on something, or maybe it's because of heat and like I wasn't thinking 100% about everything. But as I was going on this scale, the stock G10 scale, which I should have brought my other kickstand out here, but it has these 2 finger grooves in it, and Dan sometimes does that, but he doesn't always do it the same, like the style of the finger grooves. So it's kind of like a little more of a custom flair. Like he does what he wants to on most of the kickstands as far as like how the finger grooves and stuff are on it. But I cut the finger grooves in it, and for whatever reason, the radius of my small wheel, I went a little bit deeper than what he had done on that G10 scale, and I wasn't even concerned with what I did until I put the knife together and went, "Oh, you dummy, you big dummy! This is the stop pin." So this was a stop pin for the D10. You can see the gap right there, right? So now it's not the stop pin for the gap for the D10. It actually was hitting on this frame lock side, which if a stop's hitting something that's moving, it has like a flex to it. It don't stop good. It doesn't have the good detent. So if you can see right here, I drilled and put a pin in that to hold the detent. So now it has a pin, goes from this side. It's blind hold on this side, but you can see it. I may open it up so you can see it in there. So now it has that stop pin for the closed detent. It still works just fine. Hopefully you can see that. You can see how I'm pulling it out. It still works good. And if you didn't already see it, let's go ahead and show it to you now. Yeah, I didn't know that two-tone just didn't work for me, man. The blade two-tone. It was polished flats with black. So I was actually talking to Carco Chris, and he's like, "Why don't you just re-etch it how it is?" I was like, "That's a fabulous idea," because I basically was like, I'm either going to Cerakote the titanium black to make it like a two-tone kind of theme, or re-etch it. He's like, "Just re-etch it, dude. It might look cool with the two-tone." And so I did that, and if you can see in the right light, it's still shinier on the center section and duller on the grinds and the fuller, which I kind of like a lot. But after I did it, I still like it's not quite dirty enough for me, so I went ahead and tumbled it. So hopefully you can see that nice dirty mean look to it on both sides. There are slight bit of flaws. So if you look right here, we hit the stamp, so it has a funny mark right there, and I'm not sure if it's because of the stamp, something in the steel, or something I did, but there's also kind of little funny marks right here, and there's another one on the other side. I don't know if it's a steel thing, being that this is like a different kind of, you don't see a lot of this copper infused Damascus in folders. And I'm sort of talking with Sergey Rogovitz about possibly getting a knife made from him again, and I was talking about using this, and he's like, "I don't want to use that because it has copper in it. I think it could affect the detent," which I guess I never really contemplated that at all. It being a softer material, it affected the detent, but this one's kind of a core. This one's kind of like a layered. So you see the copper bands in it. So that's kind of internal. So externally, it's all Damascus on the outside. So I don't really think it's going to affect this one, this particular Damascus. I suppose if you got one that had more in it, it could. I guess my thought process is, why couldn't you just press a slug in there of a whatever steel you wanted to, and just drill the detent in that slug? But I've never done it, so like having never done it, I'm not going to say why don't you do that. But he was reluctant about it, and maybe he thought about it. Maybe he could do that something similar to that. But I guess we'll see how this one kind of sort of plays out, if the detent has any issues as far as the copper goes. I don't foresee it, but we never know. So yeah, I took one of the most expensive knives I ever bought, and I customized the shit out of it. So is it worth more? Is it not worth as much? Hey, it's up to you to decide. For me personally, I just want to make it what I want. So that's exactly what I did. So hopefully you can see the contouring of it. Like it's a much thicker knife now, much heavier knife now. Hopefully all this contouring crap's coming out and you guys can actually see what I'm looking at there. Hopefully, I know wonderful skills of videography you tune in to Satu Day for, right? But yeah, man, like definitely more my style, definitely more my knife. Put skiffs in it. I'll probably eventually put a ceramic ball for the detent. But for right now, once kind of, you got to redo that track after you etch. So I'm kind of letting that track, you know, kind of burnish itself back in with the steel ball. I'll probably eventually throw a ceramic in it, but it is on ceramic bearings. I masked those pockets, or actually with the spots of the blade where that goes. So yeah, this is money, man. I really dig it. You know, Kickstand is definitely one of my favorite knives too. So to have two of them in Damascus, one copper Damascus, one regular Damascus, I feel blessed. And I think I worked out a deal, I know I did, actually with Steve. And I'll have another one coming soon, another Kickstand. So Denise had asked about a collection video. I got a few out, a few working trades. When all that stuff settles in, hopefully right before Blade Show, I'll try to do a collection video. I'm gonna try to do a giveaway soon. I'm gonna try to put something substantial in there, not just what Allison and Denise gave me, but I'm gonna try to put something of my own in there too, so we can kind of sort of, you know, sweeten the pot up a little bit. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, first, second, third place. I don't know, maybe just one big giveaway. I don't know, y'all got suggestions, hit me up. A little over 20 minutes, let's call it there. I got other stuff to do. So y'all be cool. See you next week. Later, y'all.